to week 2.
Week 2 of eternity. Week 2 of however many. Anyway, we've done that joke. We're talking about eternity for 4 weeks. And we started last week. It was awesome.
Yep.
And this will be no less awesome. But the reality is, I think every human being has got asked these questions at some point in their life, or
Yep.
even throughout their life. Oh, there must be more than this.
Yep.
What does it really matter? What happens after I die? These are all eternity questions.
Yeah, I really encourage you to read Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11,
And you should read it in the Amplified Bible.
which makes it louder.
It makes it much louder.
Yeah,
Much
but
louder.
it talks about having a divine sense of purpose in your heart.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I believe we live on the inside. We've got this unfulfilled need that's transcendent.
Yeah.
It's beyond ourselves.
It says we've got those desires that can't be met by everyday life.
Yeah.
Which is what C.S. Lewis said as well. If I find in myself
Wow.
desires that can't be met here on earth or in the experience of ordinary life, that points to the fact that there must be something bigger. Because
Yeah.
I've got the desires for something bigger than this
Yeah.
inside of me. He says it better than me because he's C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
But it's worth reading that. It's in Mere Christianity as well.
Yeah.
The idea that there's something bigger because we've got this longing in us for something.
Yeah, and in this series, we're talking about how our here and now affects our eternity.
Yeah, and it's a really good challenge because, again, come back to Ecclesiastes, it says that God puts eternity into the hearts of men.
Yeah.
We would love it, you would love it, I would love it, if he put eternity into our heads, because then we could understand it and figure it all out. And that's what we love. Humans, we love to...
Box it in.
Yeah, if you, Pastor Jordan, explain it to me. Well,
Yeah.
do you know what? We probably can't explain eternity, right? Like Google it, it's just going to confuse you, right? Because God puts it in our heart, so we've got this innate thing in us.
Yeah.
It's a little bit undefined, but it points us to something bigger. And we actually have to just trust that, hey, this thing in my heart is something I'm going to trust and have faith around,
Yeah.
rather than once I've figured it out, I'm going to start acting differently in the here and now.
And he makes all things beautiful in his time.
It all works out.
It all works it out. He brings it together if we put our trust in him.
Yeah.
In fact, throughout the Bible, there's a number of stories that Jesus told where it was either a master or a manager, where he entrusts some things to servants.
Yep. There's the vineyard one. He
yeah.
makes a vineyard, then he leaves it to them, comes back.
The parable of the miners, which we're
yeah.
going to talk about next week.
Yeah.
There's the parable of the talents
Yeah.
in Matthew chapter 25.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is he entrusts something and then he goes away.
Yep.
And then the ones who got given the stuff
Yeah,
have
the
to give an
managers, the guys
account
with the talents. Yeah.
for what they've been given. What did they do with what they have been given?
Yeah, it's like you know, in the olden days, the school certificate exams. You know, you've been given a whole year of instruction, and then there's an exam. There's this test to see, you know. For me, I flew a kite in study break. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I think that's true. Like in life, we tend to, the most important things are not always the things we focus on first.
Yeah.
But there's a point where, you know,
We're
it
going to
gets
have to
measured.
give an account.
It's like, you know, I think, you know, we Googled before, we live till the average life expectancy is 79 years.
Goes quick.
There's a pretty firm line at the end there, you know, where it's like, okay, so you've been alive now for 79 years, right?
Yeah.
You know, or less or more, but you know,
Yeah.
and at some point, then they say, okay, what have you done? What? So now you're in eternity, and how you lived in the here and now,
Yeah.
is going to then be judged. That's the actual Bible word. We stand before Christians and non-Christians,
Yeah.
like we stand before the judgment seat of Christ,
Yeah.
and we have to answer questions about every careless word.
Yeah. A whole lot.
We have to answer hard questions about what we did with our life, you know. And there will be questions about social media and Netflix, and there will be questions about, you know, how do we spend our money? Because the
Yeah.
parable of the talents, we all got given a lifespan.
Yeah.
We've all got given a certain level of intelligence, a certain amount of ability to make money, a certain amount of influence, and these are all things God's given us
Yeah.
to use with an eternal perspective.
I love the story Jesus tells in Matthew chapter 25.
That's an awesome one.
It's
Yeah.
the parable of the talents. Many of us know this story. But one thing's common in Jesus' story is he often will have a master who entrusts some things to the servants.
Yeah.
And then he goes away.
Yeah.
And then he comes back after some time. And then the servants have to give an account for what they've been given.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like Jesus right now. He's given us a mission
Yeah.
and a purpose. He's gone away, given us the tools, given
Yeah.
us the Holy Spirit to accomplish that mission, but one day we're going to have to give an account
Yeah.
for what we've done with his mission.
Yeah, so one day Jesus comes back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or one day we find ourselves in eternity,
Yeah.
and the picture's really clear in the Bible that we're judged.
Yeah.
You know, you're judged for the words we say, the way we behave, and then in the story of the parable of the talents, they're judged with how they operated with what God had given them.
Yeah.
So one
They
guy
have
got
to
given
give an
5.
account. Yeah.
They have to give an account. One guy gets given 5, and he goes straight away, begins trading,
Yeah.
and he makes 5 more of these talents.
And he gets called.
Good and faithful servant. You know,
Yeah.
well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter into my rest, which is that heaven picture, that eternal picture, that relationship with God forever picture. Come into that space.
Into destiny.
Yeah, into destiny, which is an awesome picture. And
Yeah.
then one guy gets 2, and he goes to work and makes 2 more.
Yeah.
And then the last guy is an interesting guy.
The last guy, what does he do? We know the story. He
Digs a hole.
Yeah, and buries it.
He gets his 1 talent. He digs a hole.
Do you know the first law of holes?
No.
If you're in a hole, stop
Stop
digging.
singing. Yeah.
And the second law of holes?
No.
If you're in a hole, don't invite somebody else to into the hole. Because 2 can dig faster than 1.
Yeah. Then you're in big trouble. I didn't realize there were laws around holes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
The other thing about holes is you always start in the middle
Yeah.
when you're digging a hole. That's an actual practical skill around hole digging. But
Okay.
anyway, yeah. But anyway, so he digs a hole, which is the point of the story, which is not the point of the story. The hole is just it's the detail of the story.
Took a lot of work.
Then it takes a lot of work, but then he takes his talent, he takes what God's given him, or the master has given him,
Yeah.
and he buries it to protect it.
Yeah.
I'm going to just look after myself. I'm going to look after what I've got.
Yeah, and he did it because he viewed God wrong.
Yeah, we
He
find
said,
out at the end.
you are a hard man.
Yeah, when he gets judged, he said, I know you're a hard man.
That's
which is
not
weird.
the God I know.
Yeah, exactly. But also, God gave him that. God gives him the talent.
Yeah.
And then he says, oh, you're a hard man.
Yeah,
It just
and
sounds more like a
isn't
generous
it
man.
interesting how we perceive God determines what we receive from God?
Yeah.
And
I think
if
that's
you,
exactly
if you
right.
view him as hard, as mean, you're going to hold back because you live in fear.
Yeah. So he's motivated by fear.
Yeah,
Because the other guys go and invest. Now, that takes faith, or it's a risk.
and trust.
Yeah, and trust. You got to work with other people, but this guy just digs a hole, and I'm going to look after it. I'm going to control. The other thing is he's controlling it.
Yeah.
I'm keeping it here. I'm looking after it. And God says at the end, God says, the master says, you're wicked and you're lazy.
Something
He has
you
this-
don't want to hear.
You don't want to hear. He got this wrong perception of God, and then he compares himself.
Yeah.
I've only got 1, they've got 5, he's got 2. Other people have got more than me. So that fear plus self-preservation plus a sense of scarcity, I've got to look after this one little thing I've got. And then in the end, he gets judged.
Yeah, I wonder
Wicked
what
and
would have
lazy.
happened if the guy with 5 buried the talent.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, if the guy with 5 had buried the talent, I guarantee the same result.
Yeah,
That's wicked, that's lazy. Because the whole idea is here, the master in the story gives them the stuff for a reason.
yeah,
Like the guy with the 5 says, I know you gave me the 5 talents to invest.
Yeah.
I know that there was a reason. And that's the question for us. There must be a reason I'm here on earth. And I want to tell you, there is a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason that you're here. There's a difference that you can make in the world here and now, that when you get to eternity,
Yeah.
you can say, you gave me this, God, and I produced this.
and I fulfilled
I've fulfilled the mission you put in me,
Yeah.
the eternity you put in me. I live with that reality. Or you can get to heaven and go, oh, I looked after myself.
Yeah.
I kept it controlled. I played it safe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And across this series, we've got to push our thinking in your groups chatting, even in your own time thinking about life. Are we going to live with an eternal perspective?
Yeah.
Or are we going to say, well, I've got this is my thing, I'm going to bury it.
bury it,
I'm going to lock it down. I'm
or
going to
just
keep
use it
controlled.
for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You know.
rather than actually using it to leverage and push forward the mission of God.
Yeah. And that requires us taking risks,
Yeah,
engaging faith, and believing for something bigger. So again, it points to the fact. This parable points to the fact that how we think about that bigger perspective of existence affects our decision making, which is ultimately going to affect how we're judged.
well, the problem with the one guy was he was just indifferent.
Yeah.
In fact, he was called lazy. And I wonder how we can be at times indifferent.
Yeah.
They often say the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a challenging thought.
And when it comes to God's mission, it's just like we can be, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm living my life.
Yeah.
I got my way of doing things. But I believe this should be quite confronting to us in how we're living our lives, because we're going to have to give an account
Yeah.
in terms of what did you do with what I gave you, God says. He's saying,
yeah.
have you used it for the right things?
Again, yeah, exactly. Again, I think we can live a rich and fulfilling life.
Yeah.
You know, so our motivation isn't, I've got to do something great for God because I'm going to be judged. It's like, come on, God's got something great for me to live. You know, there's something for me to step into and to experience in life, a life that's got meaning, a life that makes a difference in people's worlds, rather than a life of indifference is not a fulfilling life.
No.
A life of indifference is not a meaningful life.
Nothing worse than being in an indifferent relationship.
Yeah.
Because you don't know where you stand.
Or being in an indifferent job or an indifferent sense of self, you know. There's something much bigger than that. There's much richer than that God's calling us. God's put that eternity in our hearts, this desire and this longing. And I reckon across these 4 weeks, we want to encourage you to come on, push into that. What would it look like for you to dig that thing out of the ground and start using what God's given you to make a difference forever?
Okay, we've discussed a lot today. Matthew 25 is a verse worth reading, going through, understanding, because there's a lot in it.
Yeah.
And we've got to ask some questions of ourselves in terms of how we're using our gifts. What are our gifts? Do you know what your gifts are?
Oh, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I can play the flute. It's a pretty important gift. Yeah.
But there's more than that.
Yeah, dancing, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills, that sort of thing. It's a good conversation though, what are your gifts? Because sometimes you don't even know, and the people in your group can help you understand, because God's given you something, 5, 2, or 1 thing, that's actually got an eternal reason. There's a reason you're good at that, there's a reason you have that as an ability. And then the question then is, well, how do you then leverage those things?
Yeah,
for
and
eternal
are you
perspective?
multiplying them? Are you developing them?
Yeah.
And how have you developed them over time? Because time is short.
Yeah, it is.
And we can sit on our gift and do nothing with our gift, but you've got to invest into your gift and use it for kingdom purpose. Well, there's some questions to leave you with. Have a great week, and we'll see you back next week.